Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome into the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, our second week on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Go check them out, our friends over at National Streaming Sports, their Roku channel. Follow them on social media as well at National Streaming Sports. Give them a little bit of love. Check out the lineup that they've got top to bottom. Some great content that they've got all day long when it comes to covering the world of sports. All right, y'all. Oh man, this week was a busy week. And if you're someone that follows all my stuff, you'll see that on Friday night, I went live with a couple of my friends, Augustine Pimentel, Patrick Costello, during the Mike Tyson fight. And that's exactly where we're going to start off today, just because I wanted to kind of clear up a couple of things here when it came to our perception of the fight that Mike Tyson had, with Jake Paul. You shouldn't have had any expectations for it. Like you really shouldn't have. I cannot for the life of me understand and grasp why, and I'm guilty of it too, right? Like I can't understand why people would think that an exhibition match would be something that we should really all buy into, right? And I said this the day of, and I said it a bunch of times before. If it wasn't streamed for free on Netflix, I wouldn't have paid to watch it, just because you got to kind of know how this goes, especially in the world of boxing. Boxing is about one thing now. It's not like it was back in the 60s, and maybe even back then it was still possibly corrupt, but the way that boxing is now, you got to know that it's all about paydays. It's all about money. That's really all anyone in that sport cares about, is when am I going to be able to get that next big payday? And Mike Tyson's guilty of it. Jake Paul is the master of it. And that's just the way that your thought process should have been. Obviously, because there are some people that are of a certain age, myself included, where we sit back and we think to ourselves with a bunch of nostalgia, right? Where we sit there and we say, oh, Jordan could still score in today's NBA. He probably could, but it wouldn't be the Jordan that we're used to seeing. We would all think of it as, that's the guy, right? That's the Jordan that we're watching. That's the one that we would pay to see, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is that gets us our feel good, that's what we are all about. As far as it came down to this Mike Tyson match, though, I had to sit back and think about it and really internalize a lot of things with it. And I wasn't disappointed, I guess. Like it's, and I'm not going to be one of these people that's like, oh, Mike Tyson won because he's 58 years old and he was in the ring. I guess I didn't have an expectation of Mike Tyson winning. I thought maybe in the very back of my mind, maybe something will snap in Mike and you'll see him knock out Jake Paul. There was a part of me that thought earlier in the week that I might be wrong, where it's like, okay, Mike Tyson might have something going, but I'm still going to keep with what I initially said. It's going to go 8. It's going to be a draw, and it's going to be just, in the favor of Jake Paul. They leave, they make money, everyone stays healthy, right? So for me, whenever I saw this match and I saw the way that it went, I wasn't so concerned with what was going on the auxiliary. The only thing that did concern me is that it looked like Mike Tyson was hurt. Now, whether or not he was disclosing any kind of injury, and I'm not old enough to remember a ton of old school Mike Tyson fights, but I don't know if it was normal for him to just bite the glove the entire time that he was in the ring. And you can see as he would step back, he would wince a lot, especially on that right knee. And I feel like that was probably something there, but you got to realize we postponed this payday before. We've got to just make it to the payday. That's what boxing is all about right now, especially these exhibition matches. Let's just make it to the payday. Now, the thing that I know a lot of people are upset about is the broadcast on Netflix. And that was something that even I was upset about. And then it comes out that their chief technical officer, and I cannot think of her name off the top of my head right now, but their chief technical officer came out and basically said, yeah, guys, we prioritized other people in other areas over the whole, right? We budgeted for X amount of people to watch. Whenever we saw that it was going to go over that, we decided, hey, we're going to start prioritizing people. And I guess it makes sense, right? Your biggest market is going to be New York, LA, places like that. So if you're watching in El Paso, if you're watching in one of the smaller cities, you had the unfortunate end of having to deal with a less than great product. The audio for me was bad. It kept jumping up and down. I'm an audio guy, so it obviously is something that I pay a lot of attention to. The video would be great, then it would be grainy, then it would be great again, then it would be delayed a little bit. Like it was just a whole to do with Netflix. And I sit here and I think about that response that they gave the world of, well, our chief technical officer said we prioritize people in certain areas because those are high traffic areas. So the rest of y'all, sorry, you got what you got, right? And I wonder about that, and I think about it, and I say, that's kind of messed up, right? Like you're Netflix. You've had millions, if not billions, and more than likely billions of people saying, hey, this was a thing that we have. There have been billions of people who have paid into Netflix to have been able to allow you the infrastructure to where whenever the fight starts, you don't start just prioritizing different areas. My friends in New York City had a perfect and pristine broadcast. Meanwhile, those of us in El Paso, I think Augustine even said in Juarez, where he was watching on his illegal stream, that his stream was pretty damn good, right? For me, it's just like, man, and I get it. Augustine's going to say this, and I'll talk more about that in the future, about El Paso being the 22nd largest city in the USA. Tommy Cananza saying, I'm not going to prioritize my payment. I totally get that. But the fact of the matter is that we more than likely are, right? Like, if that's the straw that broke the camel's back for Netflix, then man, that's a weird one to try to navigate in through, right? Augustine Pimentel once again bragging about his stream being perfect. I wonder if he's talking about his urinary stream. I know the burn's still there, but maybe it's not. I'm joking with you, my guy. But it's a frustrating thing because, yeah, you have people like Tommy and people like me who have paid for Netflix since God knows how long. I think for me, it's been at least 2011. And just to be deprioritized, and it's like one of those T-Mobile commercials, like you're deprioritized, just to be deprioritized in a time of like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be a thing that like I'm really into. Netflix should be able to look at their algorithm and be like, oh, okay, this guy, he's paid for a while, whatever it is. It should never come down to who's going to be able to have and who's going to not have, right? Everyone should have the same stream. Could you imagine if the NFL said on the Super Bowl, we're going to make sure that the other cities have a better picture than what you've got? That if the NFL went that route, because the NFL is a huge conglomerate, if the NFL went on and said, hey, we're just going to make sure the people in the bigger markets have a better, clearer quality picture. Augustine mentioned that El Paso is the 22nd largest city in the country, and that is a factual statement. 22nd largest city in the country. However, the way that money is made in all of these deals in the back rooms when it comes to TV is how big is your TV market, the vicinity, everything that surrounds your main city. And El Paso goes from being the 22nd largest city in the country to being the 94th media market in the country. It sucks because those of us from El Paso know and understand that you have Las Cruces, you have El Paso, and you have the metropolis of Juarez, Mexico, combined being around 3 million people. You add all that together, it gets us in the top 20 as far as media market size goes. However, because of the FCC, you cannot include numbers from Mexico. Don't know why. I guess the imaginary line that creates our border and the river stop any type of radio waves and TV waves from being able to go across over to Mexico. So therefore, they're not allowed to be a part of what we would be able to add. Now, if Netflix was thinking about more than just TV markets, then yeah, it would be awesome. It would be fantastic to see that they would potentially say, okay, that area right there is a rather large area globally, not just, El Paso, Juarez, Las Cruces broken apart, but globally. And yeah, we should have had a better quality. At least in my mind, we should have had a better quality right here. Augustine saying the El Paso Metroplex is the 10th largest in the United States. I have a hard time believing that one, my guy. I really do. Otherwise, the TV market would dictate it. And the only reason why I say this stuff is because me being who I am and choosing the field that I chose as far as what I was going to do for a career, if El Paso was truly that size, as far as the populace goes, as far as demand and all that goes, then we would have more in the terms of entertainment than what we have right now. Our TV products would be better. Our radio broadcasts and all that would be better. The reason why iHeart and other conglomerates are pulling people out of cities like El Paso is because radio-wise, El Paso's number 76. It was always a thing that bugged me, was that El Paso was the 76th radio market in the country. And for me, it needs to be looked at differently. We can't use Nielsen and all these other things in the archaic way that we're using it and say this is actually showing you the way that it works. For those that don't know, and I'm sorry if this is going to bother a lot of people, and maybe you'll get bored by it. If you're interested in it, hey, cool, thank you for sticking around. But the way that Nielsen and ratings like that work in cities like El Paso that aren't PPM markets like what you have with Austin, Dallas, Miami, Vegas, places like that, the way that Nielsen works is that they have a couple of people that they give a little thing to. The people tell them this is the radio station or the TV station I watched. And then Nielsen says, okay, you represent now 200,000 people. So everything is kind of judged off of those people. But the thing that's the worst about it is it's a month behind, right? So whenever I was in radio and I would, wait for my market days and see how I was doing compared to the competitors, it was let me wait and see as I'm in March now, how we did in January. Once I get to April, February and March are combined. So now I have to wait to see how that goes, right? I would always have to try to adjust my show instead of seeing the way that it would be in person whenever it was just a radio program. I would have to adjust it to whatever the month previous said. And to me, that was always just an archaic way of doing these types of things. Augustine Pimentel saying iHeart is stupid, 100%. Well, yeah, they kind of are. And people from El Paso watch Mexican stations. That's why. And I totally get that. But I feel like it's a little different in other areas, right? Like, is Seattle getting, I don't know how close Vancouver and Seattle are, but is like San Diego getting punished as much? Like it'll be something that I'll have to look up in the future. Now, obviously, that's a lot of boring talk for people whenever it comes down to a lot of this stuff. Again, getting back on topic with the whole Mike Tyson thing. As far as the product goes, now we know the reason why it was so bad. Netflix said, we're going to prioritize whatever it is that we got to do to make sure that the people that are in these areas are happy. Everyone else, too bad, so sad, right? And it's a terrible business model in my mind. Like, I'm not happy with it at all. But I have to sit back and think to myself of like, oh, okay, well, it's about money, right? I have taken all of the emotion out that I had as a fan, being a younger person, and thinking to myself like, oh man, how great is it that we have all this amazing stuff at our disposal? And I realize now that it's just about one thing and one thing only. And it kind of sucks to say that because I love sports. And the business end of sports is something that you kind of wind up hating as you get further and further and deeper into what the world of sports is. And for Netflix to make it so blatant and for Netflix to make it so obvious that this is what it was about. Yes, Augustine says, isn't everything about money? 100%. The world of sports is always going to be about money. Everything is about it. Money is what makes the world go around. But you don't want it so brash and in your face, do you? You kind of it's harkening back to like the old times of like would you rather know what's going to happen next, or would you rather just be surprised? Would you rather the whole curtain come down and then you get to see how nasty and ugly the real world really is, the whole Wizard of Oz thing? Would you rather have the magic of maybe I could live in my little bubble of thinking that the world is just this beautiful, pristine place? Or would you rather it be in your face and abrupt? And for me, I'd rather it not be in my face so blatantly like that. There wasn't I guess for me, what I would have even like accepted is just anything is Netflix being like, you know what, guys, we messed up. It'll be better next time. And even if it wasn't better next time, at least, hey, we have a little bit of contrition here. We have a little bit that we show where we care about our customers and all the stuff that they're doing. Like it's mind blowing to me that it just came out that dark and that blatant of, yeah, we prioritize other people over those of you that didn't get to watch it all that well. Right? Like we were able to say, okay, this area is a more populous area. This area has more money. They're more apt to spend more on Netflix. So let's just go show it off over to them. 60 million people, and maybe 10 million of them in Netflix's eyes were able to see the whole product perfectly. You still had 50 million watching in and complaining. That's a win. How many of those 50 million or those 60 million are going to say, yeah, this is the one that's going to end my subscription? And the fact of the matter is, most of the time it's not. And whenever you do end that subscription, it's kind of the way the boat that I'm in right now. I left cable, I went and I got Hulu. Well, now that I got Hulu, I had to add some more stuff to Hulu. I've got HBO Max, I've got Paramount, I got all these other things because I like to experience a bunch of other stuff. And now it's like, okay, I should have just stuck with cable, right? Like at least now my games wouldn't be delayed by 30 seconds. So I get text messages telling me what happened before I see it on my screen. And I get alerts from ESPN telling me that before I saw it on my screen. Augustine saying, do you think after this Netflix statement that people will start not getting a subscription? And I will say no. Netflix has 200 million plus subscribers. If 1% left, like let's just call it 250 million. If 1% left, that's 2 million people. That's not going to really hurt the bottom line on Netflix. Not at the end of the day. And the fact of the matter is that Netflix is going to find a way to get people to come back. Like that's just the ugly truth about a lot of these things is that they know they can mess up. You're more than likely not going to hold that against them forever. And if you do, you'll probably come back eventually, right? Augustine going on to say Netflix will come out with a plan that'll say priority for $20 a month. I wouldn't doubt it at all. And a lot of people have laughed at me in the past. As Augustine says, the people who are like Cowboys fans, we basically are in a toxic relationship when it comes to Netflix and everything that they've done to us with deprioritizing and prioritizing. But going back to what Augustine said about, they'll have a Netflix premium for $20 a month. I sincerely believe this. I know people are going to push back on this because, oh my God, they wouldn't even think of doing that. But the fact of the matter is that within the next decade, the Super Bowl is going to be a pay for play. You are going to have to find a subscription service in order to view the Super Bowl because people are going to view it. If you're a football fan and the NFL came out with, you got to pay to watch the Super Bowl, you'll probably hate it for a year or two. You'll probably hate it for a couple of months. You'll probably hate it for a short period of time. But eventually you're going to bite the bullet and you're going to buy the subscription to the Super Bowl. It will happen. All the people that said, oh, Colin Kaepernick took a knee, I'm never watching football again. Guess what they're doing? They're watching football right now because it's integrated itself. It's weaved itself into the fabric of our communities, right? Like we love football. I don't think basketball can get away with it. I don't think Major League Baseball can get away with it. I don't think golf or any other sport can. But you know what can? Soccer. If they did the World Cup on a pay-for-play, and if they did the Super Bowl on a pay-for-play, people would be paying for it. and it's eventually going to go that way. To me, it's not a what if, it's a when. It will go that way. It's just an inevitability. Whoa. Augustine Pimentel saying, I can get people hooked up with all the channels. All of the channels. He might be the guy. You guys, hit him up on X. You saw it right there. X, hit him up. He might be the guy to be able to hook you up with some stuff. And Tommy Carranza saying he already pays $24.99 a month. SMH. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is they're eventually going to come out and be like, look, guys, Netflix Premium, Netflix Plus, because everything has to be a plus now. Netflix Plus. And then whenever the Super Bowl goes to being a pay-per-view type of event, it's going to be NFL Plus or something along those lines. It's not going to be anything creative. You just add a plus and it makes people feel like they're getting more. But are you really? All right, so whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, we're going to get into the NFL weekend that was. A lot of fun games. The Kansas City Chiefs no longer the undefeated team in the NFL. We've had some people in the top 15 in college football take some losses, and we're going to do some power rankings maybe a little bit later on in today's show as well. Whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton on Roku, on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook.
Hello, everybody. Bernie Olivas, Executive Director of the Sun Bowl Association, giving a little update for the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, which will be played on December 31st at noon at the Sun Bowl Stadium. Still too early to find out who's coming to the game, but I'll give you a little update. I get a lot of questions as to what's going to happen with the Pac-12 now that they're dissolved. Well, for the next 2 years, the Sun Bowl Association will have a pick of all the Pac-12 schools that left. So we still have access. We're going to still have access to UCLA and USC and Washington and Oregon and Cal and Arizona State and Utah. But on the other side, it's still going to be the ACC. So a lot of people have been asking the questions about now that there's only 2 Pac-12 teams, where you're going to go. Well, now you know, again, December 31st, 12 noon, Sun Bowl Stadium. Tickets are going pretty well. So don't be left out. Come by the office or go to Ticketmaster and get your tickets. We'll be waiting for you.
Get ready, Sun Bowl fans. The 2024 Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl is back, and it's bigger and better than ever. Mark your calendars. Tickets are now on sale. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to the action, don't miss out on the best seats in the house. Secure your tickets before Thanksgiving and be a part of the tradition. Last year's game was a sellout, Don't wait until it's too late. Join us on December 31st for a day of unforgettable football, family fun, and festive cheer. Visit Sumble.org to grab your tickets. The clock is ticking. Be there when history is made.
Welcome back to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, right here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton Facebook page, the Tipton Sports Broadcasting Network Facebook page, YouTube, X, all those other areas as well. And of course, via Roku or on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Messed that one up, but on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Thank you all so much for tuning in. However it is that you are tuning in right now, I got my friend Medusa Designs who is tuned in saying buenos dias to you and to everyone else as well that is out there. I hope that everyone had a phenomenal weekend. I hope your team won, unless you are a 49ers fan, in which case I'm so glad your team lost. That team is absolute garbage, and it makes me happy watching them lose. As a Dallas Cowboys fan and an avid hater of everything San Francisco 49ers, I am glad y'all took that L in the most embarrassing way possible. You guys suck. And your team's healthy. You got nothing to blame. Your team's healthy. Look at these guys. Anyway, our guy Augustine saying the Sun Bowl Plus. That's going to be one of the things that comes up next. Sun Bowl Plus. I wouldn't doubt it. Paramount. The Sun Bowl is one of the only bowl games. I think there's 2 bowl games out there. It might be the only one now. But the Sun Bowl is one of the only bowl games out there that is not on ESPN. And to me, that does a real disservice to the Sun Bowl. I can talk about that ad nauseum. I'm not going to do it right now as well. Augustine saying Roku. That's the way I can get you all the channels. Augustine, again, braggadocious about how his Netflix account was absolutely pristine during the amazing, and I'm just so glad that all of us watched it, Mike Tyson match as well. Augustine Pimentel saying a Cowboys fan calling other fans out. Yes, I can, because the San Francisco 49ers are happy just making it to a Super Bowl, not winning a Super Bowl, despite the fact that it's been longer for them to not win a Super Bowl than it has for the Cowboys. But I digress. I'm glad they lost. It's what losers do. They lose. That simple. Okay, so looking at some of the scores that happened over the weekend, we had the Dolphins with a 34-19 win over the Raiders. This was an 8-point spread on Bovada.lv. Thank you. And for those people out there that say that it's so hard to win by more than a touchdown in the NFL, I will give you this game right here. 34-19. At no point in this game was I worried about the little bet that I made on Bovada.lv, taking the Miami Dolphins with 8 points, giving the Raiders 8 points. There was no issues that I had with it at all. So the Dolphins just utterly dominant over the Raiders. The Raiders are bad. We'll see what happens with the Dolphins. They've got 2, maybe 3 winnable games coming up here in their schedule. Can they do what they have to do to keep up with what the Buffalo Bills are doing? And the Buffalo Bills yesterday got themselves a 30-21 win over the Kansas City Chiefs. I was wrong on that one. I took the Kansas City Chiefs with the 2.5 spread. Kansas City was a 2.5 underdog. I thought they'd lose by 1. I was looking real good on that 2.5, and then the Bills got themselves a last-second touchdown, and that ultimately ends the game with Josh Allen just running like an absolute monster. But the Kansas City Chiefs still have some issues on offense, and I think the issue is just that offensive line. We can look at the Kansas City Chiefs and try to dissect any of the stuff, be like, oh, they don't have the talent that they did in the past. When it comes to receiver, I would push back and say they've got better talent now at receiver. They're going to get Isaiah Pacheco back. That's going to help out in the backfield, but Kareem Hunt has been doing a great job for the Kansas City Chiefs during that time. So for me to sit back and just watch that the Buffalo Bills thoroughly handled the Kansas City Chiefs, and yeah, it kind of got scary there because you always think to yourself about the ghost of Patrick Mahomes coming back and biting you. 13 seconds, right? That's going to be in everybody's head. 13 seconds. It was nice to see the Buffalo Bills get a win here, but I will say this to Bills fans before you get a little too ahead of yourself. 1 win, 3 wins, 4 wins in the regular season does not negate a playoff win, nor does it negate the 3 Super Bowls the Kansas City Chiefs have already won. Like, Yeah, it's awesome. Like that's great for momentum building. But by the time you get to the playoffs, if you run it back again, you can be two completely different teams than what you were this past Sunday. Don't ride too high with it. Your team is looking good. Don't get me wrong, but I would just caution on being, yeah, we're going to dominate the Chiefs every time we play them. Like it's not going to happen that way. I see that Oralia Nunez is tuned in right now, and she's probably going to hate that I said that as a avid Bills fan as well. But it is what it is. Other games that happened yesterday, we had the Saints with a 35-14 blowout of the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland is just bad. Somehow Jameis Winston had almost 400 yards passing in that game. The Saints actually looked halfway decent. We got the Taysom Hill game. One game a year, we get the Taysom Hill game, and we got it yesterday. I wanted to look at his stats that he had. He ran for 138 yards and had 3 touchdowns. One of those was a 75-yard run from Taysom Hill. So if you had him on fantasy and had the guts to actually start him, kudos to you, because he's always so hit and miss. I hate having that guy on my fantasy teams, but that's just the way that rolls, right? My guy Tommy Cananza saying he was also in hater mode yesterday. He wanted all of the good teams to lose. I'm 100% with it, man. I like I said, the rest of the season, because I know how bad the Dallas Cowboys are, for the rest of the season, I'm just going to hate watch NFL. Like, I'll be happy when a couple of teams win here or there. You'll have to figure out what those teams are, but I'll be happy whenever I see some of those teams win. But for the most part, like the game that happened on Thursday between the Commanders and the Eagles, I told my friends, I hope an asteroid hits the stadium, all the fans get out okay, and the players just have injuries that they can't play for the rest of the year. That's the way that I am thinking now with the NFL season. The Cowboys screwed it up for me, right? So why should I I have zero emotions and emotional connection to the NFL now. I think I'm just watching as like an overall fan of the sport. And to be honest with you, it feels kind of freeing. Not going to give up on my Cowboys, but it always feels kind of freeing not having any emotions attached to whether or not we win or lose. I know the Cowboys play tonight. We'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Tommy Cananza saying that he had to play Hill because Kittle was out. I was able to get him 42 points. That right there is a big win, my guy. Oralia Chop saying, some of us are realistic. This win was beautiful, but doesn't mean a thing until the playoffs. Go Bills. I like that. I like the modesty in your celebration. I am 100% with it. You're not like other people I know that were like, oh my God, bro, they're winning the Super Bowl. Like it doesn't happen that way. One win in the regular season doesn't mean you're winning a Super Bowl. As we've seen with Augustine Pimentel's Patriots. He said go Lions, so it kind of threw me for a loop here, but he's a Patriots fan somehow. And we saw that team go undefeated and still lose in the Super Bowl. So, I mean, there's steps you got to take. It's a step in the right direction. But by the time the playoffs come, both teams can look completely different. The Colts with a 28-27 win over the Jets. Nothing makes me happier. Nothing makes me happier than watching Aaron Rodgers lose. That dude had a half-assed decent game yesterday, bailed out by Breece Hall. Aaron Rodgers is washed. I will continue to say that every week until I get it through to everybody. Aaron Rodgers is washed. Hang his ass up to dry. It's done. He's got nothing else to give the sport. He's like moving around like he's got half a leg out there because he does. Like he's 40 years old coming off into Achilles injuries. Should have had zero expectations for this team. Zero expectations for this team. Brandon the Iceman Cone, my guy, was like, oh, this is going to be a Super Bowl contender. Really? They look pretty damn terrible to me. And Aaron Rodgers has been healthy all year long. Man, I'm getting my Hater of the Year award coming out of me right now. Jeez. Even I was like, dial it back a little bit, Tip. Dial it back. It'll be okay. Usa, got to rub the ears. Usa. What was the thing? Like a Akuma Matata or something like that? Just whatever I got to do to get back into my space here. I'm just glad the Jets lost. They are garbage. Absolute dumpster fire for the New York Jets, the Super Bowl contending New York Jets. The Vikings go on the road and defeat the Tennessee Titans 23-13. The Packers with a last-second field goal block. Flashbacks for Broncos fans yesterday as you watch the kicker for the Bears kick that field goal, and then again, boom, gets blocked at the last second, a 46-yard field goal. The Packers hold on to that lead, and it feels bad for Caleb Williams because he had a halfway decent game yesterday. The Bears are just a constipated offense. They're not good. Like the Bears have zero movement. It's not even fun to watch. Like even though the game was a good close game, it just wasn't fun to watch at all. Tommy Canassa saying, again, we agree. Love watching Aaron Rodgers lose. Who doesn't love watching Aaron Rodgers lose? I'm sure Aaron Rodgers' family likes watching him lose. Probably shouldn't have said that. I actually know his brother, so I'm going to dial it back. USA again. Don't need to be that much of a jerk. The Rams with a 28-22 win over the Patriots. Drake May looks like he might have something there. I am excited to see what Drake May is able to do. This kid, I think if you get him enough talent around him, there could be some potential there for Drake May. So the futures might be on the way up if you are a New England Patriots fan like Augustine is. But again, they lose to the Rams. The Rams, to me, halfway decent team. So they might be one of these teams that play spoiler throughout the rest of the year. Then the Seahawks, as I mentioned earlier, get the 2017 win over the 49ers. Geno Smith running into the end zone just all by his little lonesome with 12 seconds left in the game. The heartbreaking losses continue for the San Francisco 49ers. I said it last year in the Super Bowl that I wanted them to lose in the most heartbreaking fashion possible. Again, my Hater of the Year credential is going to be valid for the remainder of my life. This team made it to the Super Bowl, gets into overtime, and then had to watch Patrick Mahomes methodically move the ball down the field, knowing there was no way they can stop him. It was like watching someone die, a death of a million cuts, and I was happy. Loved watching every second of it. Now that I think about it in retrospect, maybe it's my anger and vitriol towards the San Francisco 49ers, which is why the Dallas Cowboys are an absolute dumpster fire. It's Jerry Jones. We all know it's Jerry Jones. You're looking at some of the other scores that are out there. The Ravens fall on the road in Pittsburgh to the Steelers. The Steelers only get 6 field goals, 18-16, the final score there. The Broncos just blast the Falcons 38-6. And then the Bengals lose to the Chargers. The Chargers getting a last-minute touchdown from J.K. Dobbins. The resurgence of J.K. Dobbins in San Diego in L.A. has been absolutely fun to watch. I got him on my fantasy team, so obviously I got to watch a lot of these things. I also have Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow on my fantasy team, so that's also fun to watch. It was a fun game. It got super boring, though, late in the game because it was just 3 yards, 2 yards, 4 yards, punt. Like it was just it wasn't anything exciting towards the end of the game. Then you got that last-minute touchdown, and you kind of knew that it was done at that point in time. Then came what I believe had to be the greatest ass whooping that has happened in football in a long time, and that is the Lions with a 52-6 drubbing of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville was one of these teams that we said was going to be okay, maybe halfway decent. You wouldn't be surprised if they found a way to win the AFC South, right? Like Jacksonville, we kind of thought was on the trajectory up, maybe doing some things here that were interesting. And then the season started and we realized, oh man, they might be the only team the Dallas Cowboys can throttle at this point in time. And I'm looking at what Detroit did, and I've said it basically all season long. It's going to take a lot for me to get off this bandwagon of Detroit being the best team in the NFC. I still think Kansas City is the best team in the AFC, but it might just be because I've been beaten to death by Patrick Mahomes on what greatness really is. And I look at what Jared Goff did yesterday. 24 of 29. He had 5 incompletions for 412 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 158.3, a perfect passer rating. Granted, the Jaguars defense is an absolute dumpster fire. But to just dominate another NFL team like that is something that we should not ever really get used to, right? Like it's one of those things where you sit back and you think to yourself, man, this team is pretty damn good. And you got to give them their flowers, right? But you look at what this team has done offensively, what the Lions have done offensively, And at the beginning of the season, they have a little bit of a tough time. They struggle with the Rams. It's obviously the first game of the year. They get the win there. They only muster up 16 points against Tampa Bay. Then they get 20 against the Cardinals. Then they put up 42 on the Seahawks, 47 on the Cowboys, 31 on the Vikings, 52 on the Titans, 52 on the Titans a month ago. Then they put up 24, then they put up 26, and then again, 52 yesterday. This team has put up 50 points twice in the season and really could have done it 4 times against the Cowboys and the Seahawks if they didn't take starters out in the third quarter. That is showing you how utterly dominant and amazing this team is on both sides of the ball. That Tennessee Titans game was mainly ran by their defense. Their defense got them those 52 points, the majority of those 52 points. This Detroit Lions team, and I can't believe I'm saying it because I've never seen it happen before in my lifetime. This is a scary, scary team. This is a team that looks like they've got some unfinished business and are wanting to actually close the door on everybody. Amon-Ra St. Brown leading all receivers yesterday in receptions, 11 receptions, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. They have talent there. They were also missing their tight end, Sam Laporta, who's one of the more dynamic tight ends in the NFL right now. They are just a phenomenal team, a well-ran team. Nobody would have thought of this whenever they had Dan Campbell coming in, biting off kneecaps and biting ankles and doing it all that right now. But man, this team is terrifying. Tommy Cananza saying he's calling it right now. They're going to the Super Bowl. He has a feeling that the Lions are going to the Super Bowl. I'm not going to argue with you. I have that same feeling myself. If I'm being completely honest, I don't feel like I don't feel like there's any scenario out there where the Lions are going to slip up. Maybe Philadelphia, but Philadelphia has to play perfect football to beat the Lions. And I just don't see other teams out there playing perfect football. Not perfect enough to beat this team. This team struggles with a couple of things here and there, but they're still a really good team. They might be the best team in the NFL. And that's that for me to say that over Kansas City. And I know Kansas City has won ugly games and they lost yesterday and all this other stuff. But for me to say that over Kansas City, because in order to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo! Right? In order for me to say that over Kansas City, it shows what they're doing. They scored 52 twice. I have to go back and look and see how many times that's ever happened in the history of the NFL where a team scores 50 points twice in the season. That's not a normal thing. We can't normalize, oh, hey, that team got 50. That's nothing. They put up a 50 burger on teams. You look at those scores that they had against the Titans and the Jaguars, it's 104 to 20. That's the point differential here. 104 to 20. An 84-point differential in 2 games. That's not even including what they've done against the Cowboys, what they did earlier in the year against the Seahawks. This is a very, very good team, and I am terrified if I have to play this team anywhere in the postseason, and that includes if I'm a Kansas City Chiefs fan, like Tommy Cananza just said right now. Tommy Cananza, a Cowboys fan, but he's saying he's still taking the Chiefs to win it all, though. It's so hard to bet against them. It's so hard to bet against them. Yes, they lost yesterday. Was it an impressive victory from Buffalo? Kind of. I mean, if you're a Bills fan, you're going to say it was a great victory. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're going to say they're a wonderful team, and they just dominated us all around and all this other stuff. But if you're looking on the outside, if you're a tertiary individual like I am, you have zero ties to either team, it wasn't a dominating performance. The Chiefs didn't play well. The Chiefs dropped a lot of passes, and yet they still had a chance to win this game. It's almost like we're watching a replay of last year. They don't have Kadarius Toney going off sides for no reason whatsoever, but they have a lot of really good talent around them, and they're missing pieces that they're about to get back. That's the scary part about the Kansas City Chiefs. Medusa Design saying, yes, we agree, Super Bowl for sure. They are the effing best. I love watching them. And I agree with you. it's fun watching the Detroit Lions. Last year I sent it to my guy Sal Montes the fourth. I used to work together over at 600 ESPN here in El Paso. He's an avid Lions fan, and I sent him last year. This team is going to be fun to watch. I believe they are the most fun team to watch in the NFL. I still feel that way. We'll see what happens going into next year. They're going to lose their offensive coordinator this year. It is an inevitability. It's going to happen. But what this team has been able to do is nothing short of amazing. They have done a fantastic job in Detroit, building this team up, getting them to where they are now. I just want to see them actually go through with it, make it to a Super Bowl. If it's them in Kansas City, sorry, Detroit, I'm not picking against Kansas City. If it's Detroit and anyone else, I'm more than likely siding with Detroit. All right, y'all, whenever we come back here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, we'll go over some of the fantasy stats that they got in the NFL yesterday as well. Maybe we hit on a little bit with college football as well, but all that and more whenever we return on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton on Roku, on X, on Twitter, and on Facebook. What's up, everybody? Mike Tipton here on a Sunday afternoon, about to enjoy the Dallas Cowboys taking on the San Francisco 49ers, and I want to let you know about my friends over at Beer Box. Beerbox.com is a place that I went to get my craft beer delivered at home. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it. The first beer we're going to be trying is from Fat Orange Cat Brewing Company in North Haven, Connecticut. I am so mad at myself because I was just there a couple of weeks ago, and I should have stopped by the brewery and tried some of their beers, but I got it delivered by my friends over at Beer Box, so let's go ahead and give it a try. A little ASMR for the ASMR audience here. The Baby Kittens from Fat Orange Cat Brew Company in North Haven, Connecticut is a hazy IPA, and you can see right there how beautiful it is, how hazy that looks. It's got a 6.5% ABV, so you know it's going to pack a little bit of a punch. I'm not a big IPA guy, but I can't wait to try this one. I can already smell that it's going to be super fresh. So here we go. Cheers. That is very interesting. It's not super impactful like what you normally get with a lot of IPAs. I think I might be a fan. I think a hazy IPA might be the way that I'm going to start going in the future. There you have it. The Baby Kittens from Fat Orange Cat Brewing Company in North Haven, Connecticut. I'm giving that one an 8 out of 10. That is a great overall beer. So the next beer we have is going to be the Greenhouse Pilsner from Evil Twin Brewing Company in Ridgewood, New York. This is a Pilsner. It's got a 5% alcohol ABV on it, but you can see here an absolutely beautiful can. I love the artwork on that. That thing is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to try this one. Here we go again for the ASMR audience. Oh, that was good. Look at that thing of beauty right there from the Evil Twin Brewing Company in Ridgewood, New York. This Greenhouse Pilsner, look how beautiful that beer is right there. Here we go. Bottoms up. Cheers, everybody. Man, that's good. That is phenomenal. I'm giving that one a 9 out of 10. That beer is absolutely flavorful. What you need to do to try different beers like this from different areas, you don't have to travel out of town anymore and try to find them out. All you have to do is go over to beerbox.com. It's super simple the way that it works. So here's what you got to do. Just simply subscribe. That's simple. Can't be any easier than that. It's month to month, and you can cancel any time. Obviously, you must be 21 to enjoy. Then all you got to do is get ready. The experts at Beer Box select a top-notch variety of craft beer packed, shipped directly to your front door. Then just sit back and enjoy a monthly surprise of quality craft beer from the best breweries across America. Once again, beerbox.com, that's the place that you go to order all the best craft beer throughout the United States. Get your subscription today. Must be 21 or over to enjoy. Welcome back to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton right here on Facebook, X, YouTube, and on Roku via the National Streaming Sports app. Thank you to our friends over at National Streaming Sports for allowing us to be a part of all the fun times that they are doing over there. They got a great lineup. So if you can, please check them out, support them. We're trying to grow the show in any way that we can. You saw that beer box promo right there. I'm getting a new beer box. My subscription box is coming in tomorrow. I'm super excited about it. I'm not going to try a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm not going to try a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning. I am promising myself that I will not be drinking a beer that early in the morning. All right. Enough of me and my nonsense. I also want to give a shout out to our friends over at RevAutoCarCare.com. RevAutoCarCare.com. If you saw earlier in the show that we had the video of me doing the whole car wash thing, I'm going to be washing the car again this weekend. Obviously, it rained in El Paso. Rain doesn't clean your car. It makes it even dirtier. So I'm going to have to be washing my car. I'll take another video of that. I'm also going to break down what each of the things do. If you're a car guy like me, RevAutoCarCare.com is the place that you got to go to. Love going over there. And at checkout, use promo code Tipton33, Tipton33 for up to 15% off of your order. RevAutoCarCare.com. Tommy Cananza asking why I'm not going to do the beer that early in the morning. I don't know, guy. Like, I'm one of these people, like, I've seen people do shower beers. I'm like, I want to do a shower beer. But then I'm also like, I drink a lot and I don't want to be labeled an alcoholic. I handle my beer. I've never had a hangover, as strange as that sounds. I've never been sick. I can handle my liquor. I can handle my alcohol. But I just don't want to be one of those people cracking open a beer at 8 o'clock in the morning while I'm at home by myself. Maybe, now that I'm talking about it, maybe that's more of a reason to do it, right? Like, I'm just here. Not going to do anything. The sad life that I lead. Not sad at all. I actually love it. I love what I'm doing. Love talking to y'all as we do this stuff as well. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit earlier, I spoke about some of the stats that were out there in the NFL. From some of the quarterbacks, some of the receivers, all that stuff, right? But I'm going to let you know who the top 5 were in each of the categories before we get our quick break here. You had Jared Goff. He was the number 1 quarterback with his 412 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jameis Winston in a loss, the second-rated quarterback here, 395 yards, 2 touchdowns, 106.7 passer rating for him. Joe Burrow in the loss as well, 356 yards, 3 touchdowns, sacked 3 times, a 98.4 passer rating. And then what I think is reason why you have to have hope in Denver, Bo Nix in the 38-6 drubbing of the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, the Falcons had Kirk Cousins. They had Drake London. They had Bijan Robinson. They had their entire complement of players and only were able to muster 6 points. That's concerning if you're a Falcons fan. That is very concerning. But Bo Nix in that win, 28-33, 307 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 sack, and a passer rating of 145.0. 145.0. Bo Nix giving Denver just the boost that it needs. If you're thinking to yourself, the whole division is going to be Kansas City's. And I said it last week that I think Denver is the second best team in that division. I still feel that way. I feel like they're trending up with the Chargers, who Justin Herbert was the 5th-rated quarterback yesterday, went 17 to 36 for 297, 2 tutties, sacked twice, fumbled, had a passer rating of 94. Even with the Chargers being in that division, I still feel like they're more of a defensive team. The Bengals were the first team all year to put up 20 points or more on the Chargers, so they do have a really good defense, but the Bengals offense has been their or defense has been their Achilles heel all year. The Chargers haven't really been great. They haven't really been super impressive. Tommy Cananzo saying that he scored 242 fantasy points in one of his leagues. I love that. I love high-scoring fantasy leagues. I want to give a shout-out to my guy, Adrian Zamudio, who's tuned in right now on Facebook as well. Thank you so much, sir, for tuning into today's show. Okay, so those are the quarterbacks. Later on this week, as we try to still get in the groove of this stuff, it takes a little bit of time, guys. And if I'm a little sloppy with things, I apologize. Still got to try to find my footing in a new time slot. with new news and different things like that. If you got anything that you want, any feedback you want to give me, I am open to all the feedback in the world. You want to say, hey, dude, you look weird? I'm good with that too. I got confidence in myself. It'll hurt a little bit. I'll probably cry and drink my beer at 8 o'clock in the morning, and that'll be part of the reason why I do it. But I want and crave feedback from y'all, topics that you want me to talk about. I know a lot of people are going to say, Tip, you're in El Paso, talk about UTEP. And yes, I will. I'm going to create a different show to do that on, though. For the national streaming sports audience, I want to talk about more of the national sports that are out there. So it'll be more focused that way. So any feedback y'all want to give me, you can go ahead and do that. Most of you have my social media at Mr. Tipton 33. I'm looking forward to all the types of feedback that y'all give me as well. But later on this week, we're going to introduce our power rankings. We're going to rank all of our quarterbacks, receivers, wideouts, defenses, tight ends, all that good stuff. We're going to be having our power rankings coming up with that as well. So everyone, I want to thank you so much. Tune in for the rest of the week. We will see you all tomorrow. A big thank you to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Download Roku and download the National Streaming Sports app. Check out their entire lineup, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Football season is here, and SeatGeek is my go-to for buying tickets. Now, with SeatGeek, every single ticket is backed with their buyer guarantee. We've all had plans change, and when you can't make it to the big game, SeatGeek has you covered. They're the only ticketer that allows you to return your tickets ahead of the event for credit with SeatGeek swaps. So when things come up, I know that my tickets won't go to waste. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app to maximize your possibilities and shop live events with confidence.